Hi guys, Debbie Lachusa here. So, does living inspired mean you have life all figured out? Well, I wish I could tell you that when you live an inspired path that you have peaceful bliss all the time and that you have everything all figured out and you just sort of flow through life. But I'd be lying if I told you that. The reality is that living inspired requires flexibility, because when you're living inspired, it means that you are following a path that usually only shows up one step at a time. So while I definitely think you have to have an intention or have a goal of what you're trying to accomplish or where you're trying to go, the difference between the way I used to live, which is mapping it all out and having a very strict plan that you follow step by step, and living inspired is that you have a loose plan when you're living inspired. You say, this is what I think I'd like to do. This is what I'd like to accomplish. This is, where I'd like to go. And then you start taking action and you have kind of a loose plan. And then you pay attention. And you pay attention for those inspired ideas that show up, and they're kind of like stepping stones on your path. So they may take you off the path that you're already on. They may provide an alternate route that you hadn't thought of. Usually, and this is what's so magical about living inspired, is that these inspired ideas are not necessarily something that you could have come up with on your own if you sat down and mapped out a plan. So that in and of itself requires trust, and it requires letting go. Because a lot of times you might be inspired to do something, and then a few weeks or a few months later something else shows up, another inspired idea, and it completely changes your course. And a lot of times it doesn't make any sense. And you have to learn that if it feels right in your heart, to trust it, to let go of hanging on so tight and trying to control everything and follow your plan, and step onto the new path and trust that it's going to get you where you're going. And you begin to see that in the end, everything works out in your best interest. It may not always feel like it in the moment. And sometimes it really doesn't feel like it. It feels like, why is this happening? This is terrible. Over time, you'll start to see that it all works out. For example, one of the things that set me on my path to doing pet therapy was I lost a dog, my heart dog, Maverick, who had been my office companion in my work at home office for almost 13 years. He was my buddy. And I lost him, and it was one of the most painful things that I ever experienced. But losing him is what prompted Hope, my golden retriever, to show up in my life. And I tell a lot of people the way she showed up, I feel like she's an angel that Maverick sent to me. And that may sound crazy to you, but believe me, when you start to trust when things come your way, that's how your life starts to feel. Hope showed up. I had this new puppy. All of a sudden, my life starts changing. I get into pet therapy. And it completely transforms my life in ways that never would have happened if I still had Maverick. Now, was it painful to lose him? Yes. Would I want that to happen again? We never want to lose someone. But if it can send us on a new trajectory, onto a new path where something really good comes of it, that's when you start to see, some people call them silver linings. I just view it as it's the path that we're on, and there's bumps and there's turns and there's obstacles, but ultimately it's all leading us where we're supposed to be going. So I don't have it all figured out, guys. I'm just following this path, and I've been following it for about 10 years now. And I have the history to prove to myself that it pays off. And because of that, I don't worry so much. I trust that when things happen and when I follow, that it's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, it wasn't supposed to work out, and it usually ends up shifting me onto something else that in the end ends up being better than where I was headed in the first place. So it's kind of a meandering path, and it really is something that you have to just step into and try to let go of really wanting to control everything, and even sometimes trying to figure everything out, and just trusting that when it feels right in your heart, and you'll start to know, when it feels right, and when you follow, that it's going to work out in your best interest.